Goose. Yeah, it is.
There it is. We're live. What's up? What's going on, guys? Whiskey in the Six with a little bit of a different spin tonight. We have Dylan from Superare, who I'm going to call it the new meteoric rise of a juggernaut coming in the MMA world, in my opinion. I use my custom made Italian Superare gloves on a regular basis, and honestly, out of the 25 pairs of gloves that I've purchased in the last, I don't even know. My wife's in the background over here. She's probably looking at me like it's probably more than 25. Out of all the gloves I've used, Superare gloves that I have, the custom-made Italian gloves, best gloves I've ever used in my life. So you guys are doing some killer shit down there.
Thanks, man.
Dylan, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about Superare. Like, first of all, I want to know how it started, because you guys started out in New York, you and your brother, Zach, right?
Yeah. So, well, first off, hello, I'm Dylan. It's nice to meet everybody. Superare started as East Coast MMA with my brother as the sole proprietor. I was not involved. I might have swung around and helped him fold a few T-shirts when he was getting everything together in Long Island, because I was currently at that time working for like corporate retail. I was working for a company called Tilly's at the time. I helped bring them over to open their only New York stores. But yeah, started as East Coast MMA by my brother by himself. And I didn't come along with our other business partner till probably about like 3.5, 4 years down the line, because I've been part in business with my brother and a partner with my brother since 2014. So 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 7 years, almost 8 years now, which is crazy. It feels like under a year, but it's so it started like that. And so my brother had a vision of kind of having a one-stop shop combat sport lifestyle store, kind of like a skate shop for fighting. And he did a really good job. And then, especially not really having any retail experience, he worked at like Abercrombie for 2 days, and then had some words with his manager, and that was that. So he did a really good job, especially without having like a lot of retail experience. And then he was expanding and partnered with me and our business partner, who have really strong attributes in, like, me is retail, like mine's retail. Our other business partner is more finance, and my brother's my brother's forte is definitely creative, for sure, and he's also good at just generally a lot of things. We're all really good at helping each other out too with things that we're not particularly things we don't particularly do every day or aren't in our scope of work, but. Right. We came along, and then my retail experience paid dividends, and then Zach was able to focus more on the creative side of things and getting our own products that you like so much, which is really awesome of you to say. Thank you. I don't even have a custom pair of our Italian gloves. I got a plain old black pair, but allowed him to focus more on that, which set us in a whole different trajectory, because we've only been making our own products for 5 years now. Okay. So, allowed him to focus on that, and then especially not having to deal with the financial side of things and having someone who is really strong in that field, helped us grow to where we are now, which I'm going to be totally honest with you, man. I have no idea how people perceive us. So it's really cool when people like you say those things, especially like use words like juggernaut. That's dope as hell, man. Like that makes me feel really good. But like, I'm so far in it. Like me and my brother and our partner Pat work 7 days a week, so it's like hard to see how someone to see it from an outside perspective. So thank you for saying those things. It's really nice of you. And we, but yeah, that's kind of how it started with my brother, and then when it evolved into what it is now as a very dedicated team effort.
Honestly, you guys have some big dudes wearing your gear right now, right? Like you had recently, I saw a post of, actually I saw a live press conference where Dana White's wearing a Superare T-shirt, right?
Dude, so right before we went live with this, whomever is listening, he said, Rob said to me, if there's ever a time you want to interject and tell a story, like by all means do so. It's that time. So
right. Good.
That was super cool, dude. I gotta tell you, like, there was never a time where there was somebody of some sort of relevance within our space when they wear our stuff that we don't think it's the coolest thing ever. We don't expect it. We don't pay anybody to wear our stuff. Also, like, I didn't like slip Dana. Like, Dana doesn't need my money. Are you kidding? But so Dana loves our store, which every time I've ever seen him, I've said is the coolest thing in the world to his face. And he tells me to stop telling him that. Yeah, so Dana comes in. I remember I'm on my way to go train. This is years and years ago in the New York City store. Calls. He's like, hey, it's Dana White. You know, I know you guys close at 7, but like I might be there a little after. We were like, dude, you can come at fucking 2:00 in the morning. Let me know. I'll open the store for you. So I get off the train and I rush to the store because there's no way I'm not going to be there for that. Right. Which was really cool. We all met. And then he was like, I want to do something cool for you guys. So then he comes in months later, right? He's like, I want to film Looking for a Fight in the New York store. This is before LA exists, any of that shit. And so we're like, okay, that's cool. Let us know. Never lets us know. Months go by. It's like 7, 8 months. And like, we're like, this is never going to happen, right? I'm in the store by myself. Our associate who worked with us at the time called out. So it's me in a very busy store. Like we had like 15 to 20 individual people shopping, not counting the people that came into the store with them if they didn't come alone. So now, if you've ever been to our New York City store, if anyone listening has ever been to our New York City store, it's not the biggest store in the world. So it's very tight in there. I'm up front talking to a very nice young lady, and she's buying like her first pair of gloves or buying 8 pair of gloves. And you could, I look out of our window and like 3 black Suburbans pull up and come to like a screeching halt in front of our store. So I look her dead in the eyes and I'm like, oh, I think we're about to be kidnapped. like, that's what happens after this happens. Like I've seen enough movies. And then it's Dana White, Gian Volanti, and like a whole camera crew get out. And I'm like, oh shit, this is that time. And I'm by myself. Like, fuck. So they come in, he's like, what's up, dude? He's like, we're going to film Looking for a Fight. And I'm like, okay, like, fuck me, right? Like, this is both the coolest thing ever and the most stressful moment of my life, all of it. So, like, I run to the back real fast, and I text Zach and Pat. I'm like, yo, they're filming Looking for a Fight right now. They're like, what? Zach's at our Long Island store at the time. When I tell you, he made it from Rockville Center, New York, or Long Island. Oh, like, see, there's my cat. Told you he'd make an appearance. The Rockville Center, Long Island, from there to the Lower East Side of Manhattan, which is a 40-minute drive, no traffic. Wow. In 15 minutes, he did. He gets out of his car. He's like, I did things I'm not proud of. But yeah. Which is very, very, so it was very funny. So he's in there. They do this whole thing. He's like buying people in the store, whatever they were going to purchase. He's like, it's a lot of fun, right? And Zach has a good relationship with Matt Serra because our first store was on Long Island. And, like Weidman, Aljo, Volanti, like Al, all of those guys weren't nearly where they were in their career. When Zach opened up Long Island at first, Chris was still fighting in Ring of Combat in Atlantic City. So, Zach has known Matt for a long time. So it was cool to see them interact. But they filmed the whole thing. Dana's like, thank you. He buys a ton of shit. I'm there. I am not kidding. The amount of T-shirts I had to fold to refill after that whole thing was probably like 4.5 feet. I used to have a photo of it. It was like 4.5 feet high from the ground. That's crazy. So it was cool. Yeah, he went hard. He bought a ton of stuff. They filmed. It was a lot of fun. And then months go by again. We're like, when is this episode going to air? Right? And then right when GSP fights Michael Bisping at MSG, I usually go to all the New York cards when I lived in New York full time. But this was like right at the moment we were switching POS systems because LA started to become a thing and we were going to be opening in LA. We already made that decision when he came to come film Looking for a Fight. I was talking to Dana about it. Like we're switching POS systems to something like beyond mom and pop shop and something that like talks to each other, like, and everyone can see each other's inventory, like a big boy POS system for a legitimate retail store. So I'm there putting it all together, making it all make sense, uploading all this. I'm like, dude, it took 2 weeks of like 17-hour days to make that happen. But I'll have the fight on and I'm watching it as I'm doing this work. And they're like, preview of of looking for a fight New York. And I'm like, yes, I hope we're in the preview. If we're in the preview, there are millions of people watching this pay-per-view right now, and it's in New York. So like, it's going to be awesome. Preview happens, we're not in it. So I'm like, okay, cool. No need to worry. When did they say that was coming out again? I got to make sure I watch it. Comes out like a week later. We all watch it. We're not in it, right? So we're like, that's a bummer, but what are you going to do? Like what can you do? It was still a cool experience. All of our clients in the store at that time got to meet Dana White, Matt Serra, Gene Volante, got to interact with him. It was a fun experience anyway, and it's what Super Rare is all about at the core regardless. So cool. We really don't lose. We don't really win, but we kind of did win a little. So
absolutely,
we were bummed, but it was what it was. Fast forward like 4 more months from there. We open in LA, and I'm out here getting the staff trained better and like interacting with all of our new clients on the West Coast and training in every gym multiple times a day just to meet more people and showcase that the owners of Super Rare actually train and live the lifestyle that we celebrate and kind of represent.
Right.
So my friend Hollywood Hino, who is back and forth from New York and LA too, who I know from New York, who's like a big boxing trainer, comes into the LA store and he's like, yo, Sam. I'm like, what's good, man? He's like, you want to go to the Andre the Giant documentary premiere? Like HBO released that Andre the Giant documentary. And I was like, dude, I've been in LA for like 2 weeks. I'm already going to a premiere. Like, fuck yeah, man. Of course I'll go to this premiere with you. So he invited me and I went. It was really cool. The documentary was great. And I was, you know what, man, like I work a lot, so I don't like to stay out late. So like, he's like, you going to the after party? I'm like, absolutely not. I'm going home. I'm going to bed, and he's like, no, dude, you're going to the after party. So I went and I passed by Dana White. Didn't know he was there. And he was getting interviewed by TMZ. I was like, oh shit, Dana White's here. So we go to this nightclub and we're waiting in this like big like hallway type situation. Like I've already passed security. And I feel his hand on my shoulder. And I'm like, weird. Okay. So I turn around and it's Dana White. And he's like, Dylan. And I used to have a beard like down to here. Right. And he's only ever known me for having this gigantic beard. And so I shaved it at that point because I was just tired of it. And he's like, Dylan. I'm like, Dana, it's nice to see you, man. Like, I didn't think you'd recognize me without my beard. And he goes, dude, like, I love your store. Of course I would recognize you. You're one of the owners. I'm like, that might be the coolest thing that's ever happened to me, dude. I need to tell you to your face. Which is funny. He was like, you got to stop saying that. So he's like, how's the LA store doing? And I'm like, you're making it so hard to not say this, man. You remembered we had an LA store? That's super dope. And he's like, he's laughing at me and he's like, how did looking for a fight do? He's like, did that help like get the word out? Like, did you guys see your sales increase? And I was like, Dana, we got edited out, man. I guess we might have been too ugly, but we weren't in it. And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, we weren't in it, man. He's like, fuck, dude. He's like, I haven't seen it yet. He's like, that sucks. It's like the whole point of that episode was to go to the fights in New York and go to your store. And I was like, well, apparently eating pizza was more important, which I get. It's fucking New York. So he looks at me and he goes, here, take my cell phone number. And I was like, excuse me? And he's like, take my cell phone number. He goes, I owe you a favor. I'm like, Dana, you owe me nothing. And he's like, no. He's like, take my cell phone number. And he's like, and text me and remind me I owe you a favor. Don't be a pussy. And I was like, got it.
That's exactly what I would say. Exactly.
Exact words, right? And I get it too. Like he knows I respect what he does. Like I've told him on numerous occasions, like, dude, like without you, a store like mine would be very hard to exist. Like you've normalized MMA. You've,
100%.
As polarizing as the Reebok deal might have been and, kind of where they took that direction of the UFC, like fight kits or whatever they call it, or uniforms is what I guess what I would say. It normalized MMA as a sport.
Absolutely.
So like, and that only elevates mixed martial arts as being less of like a, just bleed type meme to like a legitimate on ESPN, It goes on the ESPN Plus app. It's, do you want to watch NFL? Do you want to watch soccer? Do you want to watch the fucking UFC? That's awesome. Or MMA. Do they have PFL on there? Like, it's dope.
Yeah.
But I digress. Anyway, so I have his number now, and I'm like, fuck, man, this is crazy. Like, so I'm like, Monday, the weekend ends, and I'm like, cool, I'm going to text him every Monday. That's the day. So I did. I did that for 2 years straight. This was in 2018. So yeah, for 2 years straight, I would send him weird gifts, like bizarre ones. I sent him gifts of himself and be like, dude, did you know this existed on the internet? This is ridiculous. I'd send them favor ideas. I'd be like, dude, wire me $1 million. Just me personally, not Superare. Me, Dylan. $1 million, we'll call it even, right? He'd always laugh. He'd always respond. So, but then we developed a good rapport via text. So he likes he loves our stuff, and so every so often he'd text me and be like, "Yo, this collab, this Ali, drop you did is awesome." So he'd buy some stuff. We'd send him some stuff, right? And so I sent him like this cool care package of a lot of stuff after the pandemic, thanking him for bringing MMA, that card that like everyone who didn't even like MMA watched because we had nothing to fucking do in the lockdown. Thanking him for that. I was like, dude, like you're keeping us sane, and it's like fucking dope that MMA was the first like major event to happen. Like you've found an island in the Middle East. Like that's crazy, man. You're a crazy man. So thank you. So this was months later. We've already been open, but I didn't want to bother him. So I sent him this stuff, and then I had just moved to LA. I had just got home from the store. I had my coffee table on one shoulder and 2 nightstands on the other because I refused to make 2 trips. And it was fucking heavy, dude. And I just loaded up on my shoulders. I'm in my package room here in LA, and my phone goes off, but it's a FaceTime. So like I jimmy my phone out of my pocket, and it's fucking Dana White. So I just drop everything. I said, fuck it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So he FaceTimes me, and he's like, Dylan. I'm like, Dana. It's like this stuff is fucking sick, right? And like Michael Chiesa's in the background. And I'm like, what is my life? Like, like what is happening? And so we had like a 10-minute conversation. Then I immediately call my brother. I'm like, yo, crazy shit's happening. And so, so now I'm like, I'm on FaceTime level with Dana White. This is really cool to me. I will never abuse this, but this is like the coolest thing in the world. So fast forward a couple of months, and then I text him because my girlfriend and I had a bet between who would win Lawler versus Nick Diaz when they announced that fight. Right, and she's a California. I keep pointing because she was off camera over here. I don't know if she went to go run or not. She might be behind me somewhere. She's a California girl, and Robbie Lawler was him and Luke Rockhold were the first signing we ever did in our New York City store, and Robbie was cool as fuck. So I am partial to Robbie. Also, he's been fighting more actively. It's a smart bet. Like, come on. Anyway, I got us tickets, so we were going to go to that fight. Also, one of my good friends, Jason Park, is Brian Ortega's like head striking coach. So I had a lot of friends there, and I wanted to go support him. Marab was fighting, and Marab shops in our New York City store. So like, yeah, I also want to go to a fight, dude. I've been to a fight since the whole, craziness started to happen. Yeah. So I text Dana. I'm like, what's the fucking worst that can happen? I'm like, hey, dude, I got a bunch of shit for you that I'd like to gift to you. Shipping is crazy right now, which it is. And I was like, as far as if I send you a bunch of stuff, it might go missing. It's like, but I'll be in Vegas for the fights. I'm happy to drop it off somewhere. And he was like, yeah. He's like, just bring it by the office. I'm like, cool. I'll text you when I get into Vegas in a few weeks and send me the address. And I'm thinking I'm just going to drop it off at a secretary.
Yeah.
So we get to Vegas. It's fucking the day before the fight. I swing by the Vegas fight shop because they sell our stuff. Just kind of swooped in, didn't announce like who I was or what company I'm a partner in, and checked it out. And I still didn't hear from Dana. So I look at Jesse and I'm like, let's just go to the hotel. Maybe we'll see him on Sunday. Maybe we'll drop it off on Monday and I have to extend our fucking hotel. I don't care, We're driving to the MGM. He texts me and he's like, this is the address. I got weigh-ins in an hour, or an hour and a half. He's like, hurry up. And I'm like, fuck. I whipped the craziest U-turn. We're off to the fucking races, right? I pull into the UFC Apex first. completely the wrong place to be. That's not where Dana White's office is. Next to it, however, is the office building, in which I then pull into the service entrance, not knowing where the main entrance is because I've never fucking been there. And everyone's very confused. Security takes like 10 minutes to get there. I'm like, do I text Dana White? Like, hey, dude, I'm outside. Come get me. Like, that's not appropriate. So I'm like ringing this bell. Eventually, a very confused security guard comes in. He helps me get to where I need to be. And then we walk into the offices. And I'm thinking, again, I'm going to drop it off to like a secretary or something. No, they put me and my girlfriend in the elevator. We go upstairs and they're like, Dana's in this room. And I'm like, okay. So I walk in. He's always very cool. He's always been the nicest guy in the world to me, my brother, our staff, all of us. And I'm like, dude, I got this cool shit for you. We go, it's in our new Enorme bag, right? And he's going through it. He's like, oh, this stuff's sick. He pulls out the super rare shirt, the finisher shirt that he wore. He's like, this is awesome. He's like Patriots colors. I'm like, no. I'm like, my brother is a Giants fan and we are a New York, company, my guy. So those are Giants colors to him. They're Rangers colors to me. But then again, you're Dana White. So fuck it. They're Patriots colors. It's a good laugh. And he's looking at it and he just stops. And he's like, you know what? I can go through this stuff later. He's like, let me give you a tour of the office, in which he then does. He gives us a half-hour crib-style tour of his absolutely beautiful, ridiculous office. I get to see his 600 BC samurai swords and this like actually used samurai like armor that he purchased. It's like being in Pawn Stars in real life. In which I think I told him that. I said, I love that show, and it's like being in it in real life. And he's showed me all these. He has Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers bases. He has shit signed by the Beastie Boys. He has a legitimate bar in there, like a bar. Like you're in New York City, and you walk into a bar, picture that, but in an office. It's fucking crazy. His gym is the size of an Equinox. It's really cool. Like he was the nicest thing. Again, like I said, he's been always so cool, and I think he knows that like we're fans, and that's kind of where this all came from, aside from our martial arts backgrounds and stuff like that. And it was also, he gave me male brass knuckles, and he gave my girlfriend like female brass knuckles. Except to call them UFC paperweights. Like, yeah, they were UFC branded brass knuckles. Oh, wow. I said, if you ever get caught with them, they're paperweights. I'm like, duh. It was cool, man. And so then we leave, and we're in our hotel. We're gonna go kind of just like dick around on the strip. And I'm like, what'd be really cool is if he wore one of the shirts I just gave him at the weigh-ins, right? I say that sentence, and then I just continue to change into my flip-flops, in which then my girlfriend pulls it up on her phone, and she's like, come here right now. And she pulls up her phone, and fucking there it is, man. He's wearing, not only is he wearing a super rare shirt, he's wearing a fucking shirt that just says super rare. Yeah, exactly. It was the nicest gesture ever. You didn't have to do that, man. Like, are you kidding? Like, that was so nice, and I'm so appreciative of just like the human that he is to even have the even courtesy. I don't know what the white word is, but like it was very nice of him to do that. What makes it even better is that I'm like, when do I text him thank you? Right? Like, when do I, like, he's busy, I'm sure, right? So I'm like, I'll text him tomorrow morning and be like, dude, that was so nice. Like, genuinely from the bottom of my heart, like, thank you. My Instagram DMs are now blowing up, which they were. Like, so an hour after the weigh-ins, and I get a selfie from Dana. I swear to God, dude, it's literally like a selfie like this. And he's like, did you see me wear this? And I'm like, what? Like, this is the greatest day of my life. Which then I gave him like a 3-part like thank you note via text. But that is the backstory of Dana White wearing that shirt, which is probably the longest. When you said, "Oh, a lot of big people wear your stuff," yeah, you expect that shit. Told you, man.
Dude, that was a fucking wicked story. I'm just watching the comments. Everybody's like, "These stories are amazing. This story is awesome. This is crazy."
Oh, I can't see the comments. That would be so cool if I could see them. Yeah. Is there a thing I can hit?
I think there's.
Well, thank you guys for commenting.
Yeah, people are loving it.
That's cool. But yeah, aside from that one situation, though, it is always very cool, dude. And like, it always catches us by surprise. Like, I was at a bar in LA when Teofimo Lopez was fighting Lomachenko. And oh, thanks, dude. I can see them now. So I'm at a bar with a friend of mine, and we're like eating wings and drinking tequila. And I look up at the TV, and Tiafomo's wearing one of our Bruce Lee shirts. And I'm like, well, get the fuck out of here, man. Right? I like this kid. Turns out he's been shopping in our New York store forever. And, you know, it makes me respect the hell out of him because everybody, and like, if you're fighting, tell me. I would love to hear about it, you know? Like, but this kid's fighting Vasily Lomachenko, man. Didn't say a fucking word to us about it. Didn't ask for anything for free. Didn't say, I'll wear this if you give it to me. Came in, all stuff like any other customer, wore it, the whole thing, and won. But like, another one was Kyler Murray. At the time he was a rookie, but he was also wearing a bunch of our Bruce Lee stuff. Nice. And it catches us off guard too. And like, I'm a huge fan of Kyler Murray. My fantasy football team name is Cobra Kyler. But you know, so like whenever those things happen, usually it's just them coming into the store or ordering it online. There's like a certain level of celebrity where you just can't walk on the street on Melrose, but definitely not Melrose. And then the Lower East Side's a little easier, I'd imagine. But it's cool, man. Like, yeah,
absolutely.
It's always much appreciated.
So the guy that kind of like marries the worlds, I would say, is like, well, it seems like we're bringing up a lot of Italians tonight, like us both being of Italian descent. And then it seems like Dana White loves his Italians because he's always hanging out with Italians as well.
That's true.
But Frank Grillo, he had a pair of your red pair of custom Superare gloves, the made in Italy's.
Yeah.
And that guy, like, he marries the MMA world with the whiskey world, in my opinion, because that guy, have you ever watched the show Kingdom?
Oh, so yeah, I got a funny story about Kingdom, but yeah, definitely.
So I love Kingdom, and
me too.
As a Muay Thai instructor and whatever, like, totally can relate, but also as a whiskey drinker, which we should mention actually, this is kind of a whiskey show, so we're drinking, that bad boy right there, which is
it's fantastic
Glenallachie 10-year-old cask strength batch 5. These things, I was shocked, honestly, dude. When I went to grab that bottle and send it over, I was shocked that the California store still had it in stock, to be honest with you. Because
dude, this is great. I gotta tell you, man.
Like, they sell out like this in the UK. They sell out like this in in Toronto, in pretty much anywhere in Canada. Well, I should say that everybody in Toronto buys their stuff from another part of Canada because, for whatever reason, if you think things are very government controlled in California, you head over to Ontario for a little bit, because even our liquor is ridiculously government controlled. So
I once had a bottle of Havana Club taken from me at the border in Montreal going back into America.
That makes sense. Yeah, because they're bastards. Yeah. So
dude, I'm gonna be totally honest. I wasn't not blasting America fuck yeah from my car while in line, causing a huge commotion at the border. So the fact that they selected me and my friends for random screening was deserved.
All right. Oh, fair enough. So now that we've heard the Dana White story, I'm curious, how did you guys get Frank Grillo to come in there and talk about your product and
Dude, Frank is the fucking homie. First off, I love that man. Who he is in Kingdom is very close to his actual personality. As far as he's not emotionally, he's minus all the dramatic parts, but generally speaking, I always want to say Sam Alvey because that's a real guy. It's his last name's Alvey. I can't remember his fucking first name in the show, but I love Kingdom. I never saw it. I've been friends with Frank years before I ever saw Kingdom because it was on channel fucking 8 billion on you needed to have you needed to have a satellite on your satellite to get that fucking channel.
I'm one of those rare psychos that subscribe to all the stupid channels. So I actually watched Kingdom episode by episode.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry to hear that, because if I had to wait, I'd go crazy. I saw it during the lockdown because they added it to Netflix.
That's right.
But Frank just kind of came into our store one day, and we started helping. He just shopped, right? And none of us, I don't recognize anybody, dude, but I am a big fan of the Purge movies.
Yes.
So my brother, he sends us a DM, and my brother starts talking to him, and he's like, this guy. And I'm like, oh, fuck, from The Purge, right? And so he comes in, he's super cool. He's super cool. So we just hit it off, and we become friends. That's it. We just become friends. And so he comes into the store and shops and buys stuff and then wears it. The gloves, we made him for the support because he does speak very well of us, and that's very cool. And then Frank also coined the super rare catchphrase. He once came in and he's like filming a video, like a story to post for no reason. He just did it. And he was like, guys, if you ain't at super rare, you ain't. And then he stops the recording, and I'm like, Frank, that was very literal. I love it. Because if you're not here, guess where you aren't?
No way.
Right here. He's a solid dude. He did when we first launched our Ali stuff, he was like the main part of our video in it. He didn't have to do that. Dude, that was super cool. Like, I have nothing but great things to say about that guy. But then I watched Kingdom. Then I texted him randomly in the lockdown and just said, Frank, I gotta tell you, man, like, as your friend, Kingdom fucking rules, and you better come out with season 4. And if there is a season 4, I would love to make all of the bags in the background. I'll do it for fucking free. I was like, and if that's not the case, if your production company is like, no, we have a deal with whomever, cool. Put me in the fucking background so I can armbar someone on my staff. Like, let me just be a background guy, like shooting for a double leg or some shit.
That would be sick.
He just laughed, but he said, thank you. Like, I thought that show was great, dude.
Great show. Alvi Kalina. That's his name.
First name was Alvi.
Yeah.
But every time I think of it, I think Sam Alvey, and I'm like, it's not Sam Alvey. Like, it's an independent, real-life fighter. Like, he's a real guy.
Yep. This guy's like a A-list actor now, almost. Like, he went from, like, not too many people knew who Frank Grillo was, doing, like, a lot of secondary roles. He appeared in The Avengers at some point. He was, like, one of the villains. But now, like, he's filming, like, some big name movies, man. Like, he's doing, like, I don't know if you saw his recent movie where he repeats the same day, kind of like a Groundhog Day.
Oh, dude, let me tell you about that shit. So Frank's in the store, right, with his kid Remy. And this is like 2.5 years ago, dude, like pre-lockdown. Comes in, we're shooting the shit. I'm like, oh, like, Frank, I feel like you're the busiest man in Hollywood. Like, what are you working on now? And he's like, bro, I'm working on this movie that's like Die Hard meets Groundhog's Day. And I was like, that sounds fucking awesome, dude. And that was that movie. Boss Level, I think it was called. So
honestly, it was a good movie, man. Like, I actually liked
for
it.
what it is, it's fantastic. Like, I watched it when I was putting together this coffee table right here. It came out right when I moved to LA. And I got a kick out of it, dude. I mean, like, it's with a movie like that, you can't sit down and be like, we're gonna watch some like stuffy Oscar worthy movie. No, you gotta sit down and be like, I'm gonna have a lot of fun watching this movie, and I'm gonna suspend my disbelief enough to where this movie is entertaining. And I'm really good at doing that. So I enjoyed it, but I distinctly remember when he told me about that movie and the way he described it. It's like Groundhog's Day meets Die Hard. I was like, I can't imagine what that is. So, but yeah, dude, I didn't even know he was in the Avengers.
What's that? Sorry.
What was that? I said I didn't know that he was in the Avengers.
Yeah.
Until like embarrassingly recently.
Yeah. Yeah. He's one of the villains that fights Captain America.
Yeah, in the elevator. And like that, like sitting and I'm watching that movie for whatever reason, it was like on, or if I was bored and I put it on, I don't know, but I'm watching, I'm like,
Yeah.
That's fucking Frank. Like, he's in the event. That's a big. I don't care if you're a background person in that movie. That's
those
huge.
are the movies you do for free just to get your face.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. Yes. And he's coming out with a bunch of new shit. He keeps like posting on Instagram stuff with him with like really long straight hair. It makes me laugh. He's yeah, dude, he's a super great guy. You know, and that's really all we care about. Again, dude, I recognize nobody. Like, no one. I'm really bad at that. My brother is particularly good at it, and so is our partner, Pat. I know who no one is. If you're not like Denzel Washington, who has been to our LA store, I just have never met. I wasn't there when he came in. I don't know who you are, which is nice. I would imagine, you know, a lot of people. I caught that and killed it, just for the record.
BJJ right there.
Martial arts over here. But he like I would imagine that's nice because most people don't want to be bothered or used for what the kids would say are clout. But like, you genuinely don't give a fuck, dude. Just don't be an asshole. Like, I don't care who you are, famous, not famous. Just don't be a dick, and you're more than welcome to always come shop. So, but yeah, I am notoriously bad at that, dude. I was helping Chadwick Boseman for a while before it took like Black Panther coming out for me to be like, oh my God, I know him.
God rest his soul.
Yeah, no, he was always super nice. And he even still shot after Black Panther came out, he had to send his assistant. Cause like I said, there's a certain level of celebrity where you just can't go out like that. And he did not like to be recognized. That's for sure. Cause I remember distinctly, he was just Chad. He was the guy who came in randomly every so often and bought a pair of gloves or bought some of our like Ali stuff. And he came in and this kid behind him online was like, you're Jackie Robinson. And in my head, I'm like, that's fucking racist, dude. Like, this was my first thought. And I'm like, what? But yeah, and then he turns around. He goes, oh, no. He's like, I get that a lot. That's not me. But then I found out later on when I found out that he was an actor, that he was Jackie Robinson in the movie 42. And my first thought was like, dude, you're fucking crazy, man. You can't just say that. And then I realized that was the case. But in that moment, he denied it. He was very polite, but he denied it. And I realized then that he does not really like to be called out like that. But then again, you'll get a guy like Benicio del Toro who comes into our New York store frequently enough, and he'll shoot the shit with you all day long. Whether you come up to him like, hey, I'm a big fan of Usual Suspects. He'd be like, cool, let's take a photo, you know? When he first walked into our store, I was like, oh, Antonio Banderas. And he was like, oh, you're a funny guy, huh? That was funny. It was good. It was when those commercials were all really popular still. So I was like, haha, relevant.
Honestly, I've heard nothing but that Chadwick Boseman was a like super, super humble dude. That's
nothing but sweet. You know, like there's very few people in this world personally I have anything ill to speak about, even if I don't particularly care for you. Like, life's too short. There's no point in talking shit on somebody. But I mean, there are a few celebrities that have been through that I'm not particularly a huge fan of the way that they carry themselves. But even then, sometimes I think to myself, like, I put myself in their shoes. Like, imagine no matter where you go in the world, people are always looking at you, no matter what. You can't blend in.
That's right.
You know what's hysterical? When I walk around Ralph's here in LA with a mask on, everyone thinks I'm Jason Statham. Just a bald white guy trying to go grocery shopping, guys. But like, I'm trying not to exaggerate. I could do that when I get excited. So probably on 3 separate occasions, through 2 to 3 separate occasions, I've gotten stopped and people go like, excuse me, are you Jason Statham? And I just go like this. I'm just like, and walk away. That's just what I do. I guess I was just talking to a guy in my elevator about that when I was coming home from the store, and because he said something. He's like, man, he's like, you look a lot like that transporter guy. I'm like, you know what, man? I get that a lot out here, dude. Like, and then he was like, or Moby. I'm like, all right, man, stop. Like, you can't just start picking bald white dudes and being like,
yeah,
this is what you look like.
That should become racist, right? Like, I mean, it's not fair to just call him.
Well, I mean, Jason Statham, I'll take Jason Statham any day, dude. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Fuck. But I can't.
Quite a bit of hair, I guess.
He,
I would still take Jason Statham.
100%. I don't even like. Moby looks. Moby's no Moby, but it's. I have to put myself in their shoes sometimes, especially when they're not their best version of themselves. A, they could be having a bad day. They're human beings, and I honestly don't care about your celebrity. But B, I'd imagine it's stressful. I imagine everyone's trying to get something from you, whether even it's just a photo to get some extra likes that day to up their own self-esteem. Like, it's got to be a weird world. So I never hold it against anybody, like as far as.
Dude, if you didn't tell me that Dana White story, like I envisioned a completely different dude. And that's not a knock on him. It's just like, he deals with some shit on a daily basis, and he's dealing with fighters who at times I've been in gyms for the last 17 years, and fighters can be a little bit pissy. Like, they can be a little bit bitchy sometimes, you know what I mean? So I'm sure he feels it, and he's constantly dealing with that. And then he's dealing with the money side of things. So he's also,
now he has to deal with fighters using social media to air out their dirty laundry.
Right.
And that sucks too. He's the president of a company, dude. There's going to be more bad things to say in the media about him than good things, because bad things sell papers, or people don't buy papers anymore. Bad things get clicks, I guess would be the new term.
Yeah.
No one wants to hear good shit about Dana. I'll go out there and peddle the good shit. Got your back, Dana.
There you go, man. And you know what? Good on you, because he needs that. Like, it's good to hear that kind of stuff, because.
No, he's been nothing but super nice, supportive. He's been super cool to me, my brother, our partner, our staff, my girlfriend. Honestly, he has no reason to be. He could have been like, "Yo, thanks for the stuff. Goodbye."
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's a testament to his character, right? Because for him to do that shows that he's a genuine dude. Like, he's an actually good dude. You know what I mean? So. No,
he really is. I mean, again, not a single bad thing to say about that man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about you guys started that whole Ali thing, which I love. Obviously, I love wearing the Ali Bruce Lee shirt right now, which is badass in my opinion. You guys did the Ali thing, the Bruce Lee thing. You did the Street Fighter thing, which I also think is pretty badass as well. What are some of the kind of loopholes that you guys got to get through, or I guess obstacles? I mean, to get that kind of stuff going. Like, is there copyright? That you guys get approved? How's that work?
Oh yeah, I mean, so my bless his soul, my brother handles all of our licensing stuff. I don't envy him for that. I mean, I answer every customer service email myself. So what was that?
I said I gotta say, Zach is a super cool dude. Really, really nice guy. Every exchange.
Yeah, he's okay.
Yeah, he's really, really nice.
I mean, clearly I got all the looks in our gene pool, but he's all right. No, he's a wonderful human, but he handles all the licensing stuff, which again, I don't envy him. Like, I'm sure he doesn't envy that I answer every customer service email, but I find weird joy in it, and I'm sure he finds weird joy in this maybe later on in the process, but. He handles all of this. I don't know the particulars of it, but everything we do is fully licensed. But then doing a shirt like I'm wearing right now that has the Street Fighter license plus the Bruce Lee license, then everything has to be approved by everybody.
Right.
We can't just make a Bruce Lee shirt and put it out there into the world. We have to make it, send it to them. It has to be approved. Then we have to go about it. Same thing with Street Fighter. Same thing with Ali. Same thing with Joe Frazier. We have the Leroy Neiman Foundation license as well. It's a lot, man. I mean, especially this is just the beginning. We're only getting started. We've only had the Ali license now for 2.5 years, maybe 3 years, maybe, and I might be completely screwing that up because my sense of time is completely out. But we're only getting started, man. There's so many other cool things we can do and collabs we can do and brands we can work with as far as that have nothing to do with fighting for our gloves. We did the collaboration with the clothing brand Dope, and we did one with the Fry Leather Company. So many. What was that? Oh, Wheaties. Oh, yeah, fucking Wheaties, dude. That's awesome. Wheaties is iconic.
Yeah.
So doing all those things on like that kind of like releasing a one-time capsule, like one of those deals, versus doing, like a longer term thing like the Street Fighter. Like, yeah, see what we got coming out next, man. Like, everything is fucking delayed right now. I don't know if you guys get the same news we do, but there are boats just lining the West Coast like right now because they can't get into our ports. It's a nightmare. But we got shit on those boats, dude. I was like genuinely looking into renting a boat and becoming a pirate, but like I would only be stealing my own stuff. So is that really stealing?
No,
But
I
then,
think fair game. We lost a freighter. We lost like in Vancouver. There's like a whole boat that just went down. Like all these like who knows what was on that? Like is that international waters? Can anybody claim what's in those?
Dude, there are people down there right now. If you think that there aren't people down there right now looting that shit, you're out of your mind.
Right.
Because I would be down there right now making sure it wasn't my shit. But it's all clothing, so it would be gone. That's unfortunate. That sucks, dude. But that's what's happening, and it's a real bummer. But we have a lot of stuff coming out Street Fighter wise. Ali, we just did the Ali Superman thing. That was cool. We had the limited DC license. That drove. I'm surprised my brother still got hair, dude. Super Rare claimed my hair like 2 years in. My brother still got it going on, but it's that I might have taken years off his life making that happen, but he did, and it's cool. I collection's doing really well. The Ali Weedy stuff's doing really well, and honestly, man, what it comes down to is just doing cool shit. How many Ali shirts do you see and working with cool people? Like we don't have to make everything. We can use our license and collaborate with Dosprac to do the shirt you're wearing, and things like that. So how many Ali shirts have you seen that have a butterfly and a bee on it and that's it? Or say, I am the greatest, which we do have a shirt that says I am the greatest, but it is a little cooler than everyone else's. But then like how many Bruce Lee shirts have you seen that just say be water? A fucking million. Dude, there are shirts out there that are just black and yellow that say fucking Bruce Lee and Times New Roman font. What? So it's like my brother's really good at doing kind of out of the box shit. There has never been a Bruce Lee shirt like this. So it's like doing cool stuff, proof of concept, proof that this kind of streetwear style mashup-esque shirt sells. We have like the Street Fighter OG line where it's kind of like those bootleg shirts you used to buy in like concert parking lots for $10. Those do really well too, man, and
they're great.
They're also in style, which happens to help. But it's like doing out of the box stuff and not sucking at it definitely helps. The fact that we're not only on thank you, Akeem Dream. It's not like it's one of those things where I lost my train of thought. Akeem Dream gave me a nice compliment, and now my head is in the clouds. Or it could be the scotch, because you're right. It's like definitely
not typical, right? The Street Fighter.
No, it's a noticeably higher proof, the scotch. But as far as the Street Fighter stuff is concerned, it's just about doing cool shit, man, and doing stuff we like, and not trying to cater to an audience that we're not a part of. It would be a really good way to put that.
And I've heard you say it, or maybe I don't know, I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to say this, but you I don't know. I think I am allowed to say this because I think I heard this in a video of yours. Basically, you guys make gear and shirts for MMA dudes or everybody, but that are not douchey. Like that are like,
oh yeah, right? My Subway pitch.
Yeah,
I did say that in a video, which I've never watched because I, on occasion, think I sound like Kermit the Frog. But we do, like, so it's my Subway pitch. So when I'm on the subway in New York, and I used to see people with like $30, $20 Everlast gloves, which is fine. They're just not safe. They look like costume gloves, and I wouldn't wish my worst enemy to use those on any individual, let alone on a bag where they can hurt themselves. So if I see someone like that, I'll usually walk over to them and give them a card. And it's very hard to explain what our store is. Nothing quite like it exists. So I would usually start off by saying it's like the coolest skate shop you've ever been into, but for fighting, we specialize in boxing, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, wrestling, and non-douchey apparel, which always makes people laugh. Everyone from like boutique boxing, like just in it for the fitness, to like diehard, pro, name a discipline, to everyone in between, the hobbyists, the whomever, always laughs because clothing for people within this space is notoriously douchey. So
It's true, man.
it is, man. Like, how come every shirt that says I like jiu-jitsu or I like boxing makes me look like a complete asshole? So
what was that?
I'm trying to avoid that.
I think of it right now. It's like the Ed Harvey equivalent of MMA gear. What
Affliction.
Affliction. I love that you knew exactly what I was talking about.
It's Tap Out and Affliction. Those would be the two. But what's funny about Affliction is Tom Nascento, the guy who started it, and I've met him recently in our LA store. He sold Affliction years and years and years ago. He's a super cool guy.
Yeah.
Like, super cool guy. I was I don't want to say shocked because I had no reason to judge him other than our first interaction.
Right.
But when he said that he started Affliction, in my head, I'm just like, oh, but you're not. Like, my first thought, like, I looked at what he was wearing, I was like, but you're not wearing like rhinestones right now, dude.
Yeah,
Pretty like I was shocked because he was a very cool, very knowledgeable about the combat sports scene. And like, I don't know why that was my initial perception, that he wouldn't be that way. I have no idea, but he is super nice. He's like doing cool shit with Fairtex, with crazy packaging. I don't know if I can talk about it, but if you do see it anywhere in the ether in the coming months, it is fucking cool, man. I told him, I was like, we couldn't sell it because I got nowhere to fucking put this kind of shit, but it is cool. I think you do yourself a disservice if you wholesale it. I think you sell it. I think it'll sell out no matter what. It's very, very cool, which again was a little surprising because if he was designing the original Affliction stuff, that is not consistent with my opinion of that stuff. But it's funny because Affliction, when you say Ed Hardy, I would associate that with Affliction. If you said something, like, I don't know what I'd associate with Tap Out, but that wasn't good either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the guys that started Tap Out were, I don't know, whatever. At least they had like a following of fighters that were actually a little bit into Tap Out. But Affliction, like, you see guys on the street wearing Affliction still to this day, and you can tell they've never actually trained a day in their life. So
yeah, man. They walked into a Buckle retail store. I think that's the name of a store somewhere, and they bought it along with a crocodile belt, and then they went and lived their best life. Probably bald. Probably has a wallet chain. I'm going to be honest with you. No hate on wallet chains. If you lose your wallet a lot, it's a great idea. You're only being proactive.
We're losing viewers.
Are we?
No,
the wallet chain community has me blacklisted.
Hey, screw these guys.
Oh shit. But no, yeah, dude, it's just like we just want to make clothing that's appeals to more than just people who train too. Like transcending fighting and being respected as a brand in general is also important. It's also important, and it also helps elevate the combat sport community, in my opinion. Yeah. Not that it won't do it on its own, but if we can introduce people to people who train, like we only hire, our entire staff is trains. You have to. It's a requirement to work here. I can teach you retail. I cannot teach you other shit. So that's the one not negotiable is you have to be training and actively. Nothing is particularly wrong with wallet chains. I'm saying that the space in which Affliction is purchased is like, it's like a Venn diagram. There's Affliction, and then there's dope human beings, and then in the middle are wallet chains.
That's my boy Anthony. Just I don't know if he actually has wallet chain, but he also he actually is one of my Sixers trainers.
Nice.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So we're rounding up to like the hour almost mark, or getting close to anyway. I gotta ask, when are we gonna do a Super Rare Toronto location? That's what has to happen next, because I don't know if you know, but the meccas of MMA in North America are New York, which you've covered, Cali, which you've covered, and then Toronto comes, I think, before Florida. So you got to do Toronto first.
I'm not opposed, dude. I'll put a fucking Super Rare everywhere I could. So the issue with that is the pandemic. Once all that shit sorts out, the economy goes back to normal, people can travel with their free will. Fuck yeah, Danielle, Danassi, I got you. But it's tough right now. I mean, personally, I would prefer. It's 1R, homie. You got this though.
Well, we should talk next after your next thought.
Oh yeah, I will take full credit for the rebranding from East Coast MMA to Super Rare. My brother had nothing to do with it. He did not come up with the name himself. I'd be more apt to putting a pop-up for a month in a different city and see how it does before we open up any more physical locations, just because of the current climate. You know, had the pandemic never happened, there probably would have been at the time it would have been fourth. Now it would have been the third Super Rare location.
If and when Sixer Kickboxing opens up a new place and we're in a well-established unit where we can have a section of retail, I think we should exclusively sell Super Rare products. Personally, I'm just saying.
As long as it's in another country, then sure.
In Toronto,
I mean, that's my brother. That's my brother's. You gotta get my brother's blessing for that. He handles that shit. But you know, if you were in Los Angeles, we would say no, respectfully. But if we have an opportunity to sell our product to people who are trained to talk about our product to people, and we have a store in the fucking city your gym's in, then no, we're not gonna have you sell our product and they can come to our store. But there are gyms in like Australia, and there's a fights shop in Texas. There's a few places that retail Super Rare, and I've my brother's the guy to talk to about that, but I'm personally not opposed to it. You can use that as whatever ammunition as you want. He'll say I don't give a fuck, but as long as you're not within.
What's Zach's?
But that's the thing. If we opened up a store in Toronto, you wouldn't be able to. So it's like,
makes
which
sense.
one do you want, man?
Yeah. Well, what I'm thinking is like we like, the store is actually owned by you guys. The portion that's out of my gym, which is Sixer Kickboxing.
Oh, I'm gonna be totally honest with you, man. I would be in charge of that, and I can't handle that right now. So we'll happily wholesale you some shit, though. I'll happily wholesale you some shit. But when I tell you that, when I tell people Super Rare has zero investors, literally none, they are shocked. And I'm like, I know we live in a business climate where everybody's just trying to use other people's money, and they actually own like fucking none of their own business. Yeah. So if they ever were to sell it, they'll get like 3% of a couple, however much they sell it for.
Yep.
That's an exaggeration, but that's kind of like the business model a lot of younger business owners are going by. We have zero. This is all me, my brother, and Pat's money.
That's crazy.
So we wear so many fucking hats. Like, again, just me alone, like we could hire somebody to answer our customer service email, but it wouldn't nearly be as effective. They would need approval for shit. It's always really funny though when someone asks me a question and unfortunately they don't like the answer to the question. That they, hey, I used these gloves for 2 years and the metallic came off. Yeah, no fucking shit, dude. Like, if you're using any pair of gloves regularly for 2 years and they're still good, thank God. That's awesome. You hit things with them.
I go
So
through a pair of gloves every 8 months, maybe if I'm lucky. So
yeah. So like if you use these things regularly, even with the best care, no matter how much you spend, you buy them to destroy them. Sometimes people don't understand that. They don't particularly like my answer. And then they'll be like, can you escalate this? Which is my favorite response. No need to escalate it. I own Super Rare. Like, what do you want from me, man? Like, it's very funny to me, but we wear a lot of hats, dude. So like there's a lot of things we could outsource. We don't do it because it would. I mean, I feel like if someone else answered our customer service emails, it would it wouldn't get the same sort of passion that I hope translates through. I type out every one. I could totally copy and paste a bunch of shit, and I still type them all out just because I feel like whoever's on the receiving end would be like, just copy and paste it. But
Dude,
it's not.
I will tell you that I know people that have personally ordered from you that have said that you guys have the best customer service that they've ever experienced. Not just like we're talking retail as a whole, not just MMA oriented retail. We're talking as a whole, like the best. And actually, I think one of our friends was actually in the chat. You called him out. He was in the chat recently who experienced this excellent customer service. So honestly, guys, like we're coming to an end here, and Dylan, I want you to stay on the chat because you and I can continue talking after this is no longer live. If you guys have any questions, now's the time to drop them. I'll throw them up for you. But first of all, I want to thank you for coming on. Those stories were super entertaining. These guys loved them. And honestly, it was a lot of fun. I didn't have to say much, which is rare because I usually talk a lot.
No. Going forward, it's super rare.
Super rare. But actually, we forgot to talk about that for a second because
the name. I was just giving you shit for saying it was rare. It's always like, every time someone says, "Oh, that's rare," I'm like, "Nah, dude, it's super rare." And they're like, "You're a dick." I'm like, "I know." The name, I can quickly tell you about that while we're alive. It's actually a very quick story. We used to be called East Coast MMA, which is fine if you just want to be a store on the East Coast forever. We don't want to do that. We want to take over the world and be the household name as Everlast is now, but maintain our quality and not go that route towards the end. So when we were going to open up in the West Coast or on the West Coast, we were like, oh shit, we got to change to the name. So then a very stressful week went by. We were just like throwing names at each other, and it was all bad. It was all just bad, dude. And we were like, shit, what do we do, man? We don't want it to be like East Coast MMA because then that might, deter people who don't train because they're going to be like, oh shit, I don't fight, I don't belong in here. Then that might deter people who do train who don't do MMA, They'll be like, oh, I box, I don't do MMA, I'm out, right? So then my brother one day was like, what about Superare? Or which is technically how it's pronounced. We say super rare. That is the answer to the debate between friends. Is it super rare? Is it super rare? It's fucking super rare. But super rare is not wrong. He was like, it means to overcome, to supersede, which is fight adjacent, has all the ideals of fighting without saying punishment, MMA, just bleed, fight shop, we don't want that shit. So that's where Super Rare came from. And then he pitched it to me and Pat, and we were like, that's fucking great. It's all my brother. And I hope he fucking watches this for two reasons. One, he knows I give him all the credit in the world, especially for pulling me out and giving me an opportunity to get out of corporate retail, which was sucking I killed it. I was a fucking man at it, but it sucked my soul away. And B, gave him full credit for coming up with the name, which I don't think he thinks I do, which is, and then the customer service being on point and a 10 out of 10. But he came up with it. It was his brainchild, and it worked really well, dude. We actually didn't really skip a beat, which was surprising. No one even seemed to notice. I'm going to be honest with you, dude. That's awesome. So it worked out really well. People really like it. I love when people are like, how do you pronounce it? Me and my friends argue all the time. I'm like, that's great. You guys should stop arguing. But super rare. I get to see who wins. It's always fun.
Yeah, I think that's why so one of the guys in the chat's actually Italian. He did the double R because it's pronounced super rare, but it's Superare, which obviously is, like you said, to overcome in Italian, right?
Yeah.
But badass name. You guys are doing an incredible job. I invited you guys on the channel because I love your product. I love your customer service. Zach, super cool dude. Dylan, you're killing it, man. Like, really, really nice guy. Overall, you guys are just, for me personally, and you can ask my students, I recommend you guys all the time. If you want to go the custom route, you get to choose exactly the colors, the scheme, whatever, which is awesome. I'm like wasting time on my break all the time, just the scheme on that custom, whatever. Anyway, I digress. Thanks for coming on tonight, dude. Really appreciate it. Stay on the line. If there's anything else you want to share with these guys before you go, because although we're dwindling in numbers as it gets a little bit later in the East Coast here, these guys can watch it later on. So if you have anything to say, time and
if you watch this and don't train, start. If you watch this and do train, visit superareshop.com. Oh, did you see that wink? That was on point. I've been practicing that.
I like that. All right, everybody. Cheers. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. We will see you soon.